Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel, and here's a brand spanking new article titled Causing More Than Just a Ripple. And you can tell it's new, it's got that new article smell. This was recommended by Matt Hamilton, who is a Ripple employee, and he wrote the following on Twitter about it. This is probably the best third-party write-up I've seen of XRP, the XRP ledger, and Ripple. It explains this history and the relationships between them all really well. And so it's actually a long piece, so I'm not going to run through all of it, but there were a couple aspects of it I did want to touch on, including first some interesting stuff having to do with XRP price past and present, looking back down to what it was worth in 2013. And also the fact that due to the decentralized nature of the XRP ledger, the community effectively could vote to burn all of Ripple's XRP holdings, and there's nothing Ripple could actually do about it. And so I wanted to talk about the way that the XRP ledger actually functionally operates and its consensus algorithm. And I'll tell you what, I'll cite this even at the outset of the video. You know, when you're talking about a decentralized system, nobody can force anybody to participate, and so if you are going to participate, then every participant has to abide by the same rules. There is no choice. The second you don't want to, you're no longer in line, and you're just and so it's like any decentralized system. It's only decentralized insofar as it will do whatever the majority of the participants within that decentralized system want it to do, and so you have to abide by the actual what the code dictates is the framework, but beyond that, it's up to majority, right? And so that's why something like this can happen. And also, I wanted to share with you what David Schwartz had to say on this topic. With David Schwartz, of course, being Ripple CTO, he's also a co-creator of the XRP ledger and XRP itself. But I do want to be clear at the outset. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who likes making YouTube videos as a fun hobby about Ripple and XRP and crypto. And so here's the part. I want to cover this part having to do with price, and this article by BankerX reads as follows. XRP is one of the longest standing top 10 cryptos by market capitalization, yet has become one of the most controversial topics within the crypto space due to its relationship with Ripple and their current ongoing lawsuit with the SEC, which they actually do dive into later. I'm not going to speak about that as much, but I will say as far as the price action, which certainly has been impacted by the actions of the SEC against Ripple, it was noted in this article, and I hadn't really ever thought about it like quite like this. I mean, obviously, we are aware that XRP has not hit its all-time high from early 2018 when it almost hit $4. And it's actually, at this point, the only top 10 cryptocurrency that has not hit its all-time high, which I thought was an interesting fact. Now, from my perspective, though, it's just a matter of time. Nothing's guaranteed in life. There's no way you can know it for sure, but I see the whole market moving in tandem, and I personally believe it's going to go much higher, which I've been talking about in other videos, so I won't talk about that as much in this one. But I did want to highlight, and it's on your screen right now, they got a screen grab of what the price action for crypto looked like in August of 2013. Look at this. Specifically, they have August 4th, 2013 highlighted. XRP was worth half a penny. Look at that, 0.005882 cents. And the circulating supply was only 7.8 billion. The market cap for XRP global market cap of $45 million. You know, today the market cap it's I guess it's probably over 30 million, a billion rather, as I record this. So from 45 million to over $30 billion, and that's after a huge market pullback. Where XRP at the time they highlighted this, it was before the run up today actually, and they show a price of XRP of 62 cents, and it ran up to over 70 cents today. But green day for the market, not going to complain about that. But it's just so fascinating to see how far this has all come, and I still think just like the prices back in 2013 for XRP look insanely low, I still believe the prices that we're seeing now, June of 2021, people look back in the future and be like, whoa, I wish I could have gotten in at those prices. I wish I had known about it. If you just fast forward a decade, I suspect there will be a lot of people thinking that, as long as XRP really is going to continue to have long-term viability, as long as it's useful in the world, I certainly anticipate that's something that would ultimately unfold here. But let me jump ahead to the part where they're talking about the XRP ledger and kind of how it functionally operates here, because it's fascinating. I think a lot of people don't realize this, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily really understand like the nature of decentralized systems, and so this is useful. And so the XRP ledger or blockchain, and by the way, the XRP ledger, it is a blockchain, and just like the Bitcoin blockchain is also a ledger. So I don't know why the term XRP ledger is utilized more than XRP blockchain, but that's what was decided upon. It doesn't matter, though. It functionally doesn't matter. So anyway, the XRP ledger or blockchain is an open source technology with no central control on which XRP is run, as mentioned previously. It is a public, distributed, and real-time protocol for anything of value. All individuals can freely develop on the ledger or participate without being censored or stopped. Right, and so to pause right there, I think one of the key factors, one of the key things to consider, if you want to figure out whether or not a system is actually decentralized, is do you need permission from an authority in order to participate? In the case of the XRP ledger, the answer is a clear no. And so there are a number of metrics you can look at, but I think that's a very important one. And so anyway, this piece continues. Any individual may run a node that is responsible for validating transactions, and anyone may transact without needing permission. The validators of the XRP ledger perform the necessary functions to keep the system efficient and secure. They each store copies of the blockchain and participate in the consensus process. Now, the consensus protocol is how common consensus regarding the present state of the blockchain is reached. It is essentially what allows the blockchain to be decentralized. They are the backbone of the blockchain in allowing the nodes in the network to validate transactions. And by the way, when we're talking about the validation of transactions, what we're actually just talking about is agreeing upon the order in which transactions occur. That's it. Because as it turns out, the order itself doesn't really matter. Whether you think one transaction occurred before or after the other, it doesn't matter. Like you're talking about ledgers closing in every 3 to 5 seconds. It functionally does not matter. So it's really more so about just coming to agreement. Whatever the agreement is, it doesn't matter. You just need to be able to make quick forward progress. And so anyway, the piece continues. Many may be more familiar with Bitcoin's proof-of-work consensus protocol, which rewards miners for solving complex equations. Bitcoin's protocol is a costly process that is equally energy and time intensive. The XRP ledger instead makes use of validators, and these validators do not have financial incentives for validating transactions, and moreover, each has its unique reasons to ensure the network runs efficiently. Yeah, so imagine this: if you're utilizing this, for instance, let's say you're a cryptocurrency exchange and you make money on the buying and selling of XRP. Because that's what your customers are doing. They're buying and selling XRP. You get a cut of every transaction. Is it in your interest to make sure that the XRP ledger itself is secure? I would argue yes. And so there are cryptocurrency exchanges that run validators, and I wish more would. Perhaps they will in the future. But they have to pay to run them, and paying to run it's cheap. That's probably like $15 a month or something stupid low like that. I can't remember exactly. I mean, it vary by region, but not by much. It's practically free. And so if you want to ensure that you have that continued revenue stream, if you're an exchange, you might run a validator. And there are all sorts of other motivating factors, depending on are you a business that or individual that utilizes XRP? Do you want to ensure its long-term viability? If so, then do this. But for miners, there's actually a financial incentive, and David Schwartz has talked at length about how, as he stated, the best incentive is no incentive, and he's really speaking primarily financially, I'd say, because miners are incentivized to have high prices. Like they have a totally different motivating factor than other participants within the network, within the Bitcoin blockchain. And that results in friction. It just frankly does here. And so there's a faster, better way to do this with the consensus algorithm that is used within the XRP ledger. And so you don't need proof of work. Proof of work mining is not the secret sauce of cryptocurrencies and decentralization. It was thought to be that quite so in the early days, but there are other ways to arrive at consensus. And so now you'll still have Bitcoin maximalists insisting, many of them anyway, that mining is the secret sauce. And I argue vehemently against that. I say it doesn't matter. Once the cryptocurrencies are out into the wild, what's it matter? What's it matter about whether or not it was mined? You're talking about the initial distribution of it. Once it's out in the wild, it doesn't matter anyway. And then beyond that, all you have to do is, as the transactions occur, we just need to know. We just need to agree on what order they actually occur. That's it. And so the XRP ledger, rather than proof of work, it makes use of its validators. And again, they don't have any sort of financial incentive here, and they have their own unique reasons to participate in the network. And so, to briefly explain how a validator system works, imagine with your eyes closed that a blind person has R10 in their left hand and R20 in their right hand. And so that's what was written in the article. I didn't know what that was. I was like, what the hell's an R10 and an R20? And then I was like, oh, maybe it's currency I'm not familiar with, and that was the case. They were referencing here South Africa's currency, the rand. So those are just a couple of the notes. There's an R10 and there's an R20. So you could pretend, if you're more familiar with dollars like I am, you could pretend it's a $10 bill and the $20 bill. It doesn't matter. And so anyway, again, they wrote, imagine with your eyes closed that a blind person has R10 in their left hand and R20 in their right hand. In finding out which hand holds which note, they do not have to trust a specific individual to tell the truth if they ask multiple individuals that have no relation and are spread geographically, right? And so similarly, the goal of validators is for the majority of them to give a consistent answer that will be taken as the truth to validate information. And so another way that I always say is a good way to understand this, because look, in order for a ledger to be validated, you have to have 80% minimum approval of the trusted servers. And so if you have that, if that threshold is met, then you can move on to the next ledger. It's agreed upon, it's official, it's validated, and that's immutable. You can't go back and rewrite history. There's no way to do that. And so you could think, well, why would there potentially be various validators saying that they're seeing orders coming in a different order? Which, by the way, should be pretty self-evident why that would be a problem. How do you forward progress if all sorts of validators are seeing orders come in different transactions? How do you occur that or prevent double spend or anything like that? And so the answer ultimately is that given that this is global, XRP ledger is absolutely global. You've got validators all over the planet, and so there's a lag time. I mean, you can just think if you're placing a phone call to somebody next door versus somebody on the other side of the planet. The communication time, to somebody next door versus somebody on the other side of the planet, it's going to be a variance. It's going to take longer to reach somebody on the other side of the planet, obviously. And so if you consider the implications of this lag time when you're talking about processing transactions, it's substantial. And so all you have to have is, if you have 80% that agree that orders occurred in such a fashion, then you just say, okay, that's sufficient. We agree. That is how everything lands. Let's move on. And then the ones that didn't see him come in that order, they'll just have to say, oh, okay, fine. Well, the rest of you did. Let's move forward. And then maybe for other transactions, typically, a lot of them, they will see it coming in the order that the rest of them saw it come in too. So in a nutshell, that's basically how it works. And so way better than proof of work, way more efficient. And so then they write here, similarly, the goal of validators is, for the majority of them, to give a consistent answer that will be taken as the truth to validate the information. The XRP ledger currently consists of more than 100 validators that are geographically spread across the globe, which ensures decentralization. There is no central point of control for the validators, and Ripple owns less than 5% of the available validators. A unique list of trusted validators is compiled by Ripple and the XRP Foundation, which participants may choose to use. And that's key to note there. You don't have to trust any validators that Ripple says they trust. You get to choose which you trust. It is sufficiently decentralized here. And now we get to the really fun part of this, the idea of forcefully burning Ripple's holdings. And we should talk about the implications of that too, if that were to happen. So they wrote here, if the high concentration of XRP placed in Ripple's escrow ever became a threatening issue, the nodes, validators, and the community at large could choose to vote and burn Ripple's escrow, as mentioned by the CEO, Brad Garlinghouse. And by the way, he's not the only one that has mentioned that. David Schwartz has also, as you'll see in a second here. But the process of burning crypto involves removing a token from the circulating supply permanently. Often burning occurs to increase scarcity due to the positive impact on price, but in the case of Ripple, this would be from stopping the company from holding so much of the supply. And so some people do think that this would be good, and I disagree. They think it would be good if Ripple just didn't have their XRP holdings. Okay, well, I think that Ripple's driving value for the XRP ecosystem. I think that will lead to long-term price appreciation. They're the largest stakeholder of XRP. They certainly have the most to lose if this doesn't go well. And so they're supporting the ecosystem voluntarily. And so, you know, if you're talking about if Ripple lost all of their holdings like that right now, that's a primary funding mechanism for them. And so if you want them to continue doing on the behalf of the XRP community good work in support of the XRP ledger itself and XRP, maybe don't do that to them. So I don't think that this would be good for the price action of XRP. If you're simply looking at supply and demand, you might want to look at the broader implications of all of this. But it certainly could happen. I just don't think it would happen. So you could ask, would burning Ripple's XRP, would it erode trust? Well, it depends. It's kind of a complex question to ask. I think ultimately the answer is yes. But understand there's that 80% threshold that would have to be met. So you'd be like, oh, that's the majority. Well, then why would the community have a problem with it? It's 80% approval. Well, it's 80% of approval of people that are validating transactions that would have to vote on this, right? But what about the rest of the people participating, holding XRP, buying and selling it? How would they feel about that? I'm going to go ahead and guess. I'm going to go out on a limb that would erode trust, even though it is within the nature of a decentralized system to allow something like this. You know, you're talking about a rule change. If that's what the majority wants, then a rule change can occur just like it could with Bitcoin. So that's the nature of a decentralized system. But if you have this happen, still, I think that would be problematic. Just like if Bitcoin miners put into existence a new quantity of Bitcoin beyond the 21 million. Can you imagine the chaos that would ensue? I think it would erode trust, even though it's within the nature of a decentralized system for that to happen. But I don't think that the participants that are validating transactions would find that to be in their interest anyway. So while it's technologically possible, I don't suppose that it's ever going to actually occur. But no, I don't think it would good. I don't think it would be right either. And so there was this article which covered this, and this was towards the end of last year. Ripple CTO says community could demand billions in XRP to burn. Ripple's chief technology officer David Schwartz has confirmed that the company could be forced to burn billions in XRP if the community willed it. Let me go a little bit lower. So, yeah, and they hold about half the supply, something like that. And so there was a user on Twitter that asked David Schwartz what Ripple's reaction would be if all nodes, validators, and the community at large agreed that the XRP held in escrow by Ripple should be burned. And in response, Schwartz implied that majority rule would win in such a decision. And here's a quote. "Yes, there would be nothing Ripple could do to stop that from happening. Public blockchains are very democratic. If the majority wants a rules change, there is nothing the minority can do to stop them." And so again, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that would be the right thing. I think it would be rather problematic, and it would not help for the long-term viability and adoption of XRP. So very unlikely here. But you know, I'm one of the people that in the early days when I found out that there was a decentralized cryptocurrency that was being supported by a company like Ripple that had large holdings, that was actually appealing to me. And so I understand the Bitcoin maximalists don't like it because for some reason you apparently can hold too much of a decentralized cryptocurrency and it's suddenly a problem. Never mind the 1 million coins held by Satoshi. Apparently that's not a problem. But you know, when it comes to Ripple holding as much as they do, that's bad. And so I just thought, well, no, I don't have as severe trust issues as you in life in general. I would say because I'm not one of the people that says down with banks and down with government. I don't think that makes sense. And so when you just look at the fact that Ripple was supporting the XRP ecosystem, but they don't have any special permissions over the ledger. Like, to me, that was appealing from the get-go. And I always thought, yeah, fine, if they actually do something that's not in their interest, which also harms XRP, and like they start dumping on the market, fine, that would erode trust with me. And then I would just not trust them anymore, and we'd see what the fallout of that would be. But until something like that happens, I'm not concerned, because they would be shooting themselves in the foot to do something that would intentionally negatively impact the price of XRP. It just wouldn't be good for them. So I don't see it happening. So no, I think it's good that they have what they have, and if they ever want to burn their own holdings to any degree because they think that makes sense, that's fine. And they're actually open to talking about that. Now, I'm not going to run through this article, but take a look at this headline. This is just from April 23rd of this year. Ripple open to destroying massive 50 billion XRP holdings, says CEO Brad Garlinghouse. And so he basically said if there's a reason that this might make logical sense, we're open to it. And so maybe it will happen in the future. And I don't know what the rationale would be for that. But if they want to do that and it's their holdings, okay. I just don't want it to be forced upon them. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I'll go ahead and wrap up there. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.